Every second passport video starts with the same number. $100,000 to Dominica, $130,000 once you add the fees they don't put on the website. 250 grand for St. Kitts, and that one now comes with a year-long backlog on top. This video shows you the 7 fastest citizenships in 2026 you can get without investing a single dollar. No donation, no real estate, no government bonds. You pay in time, in paperwork, or in bloodline. And by the end of this, you'll know exactly which of those 3 you can actually afford to pay. And the timing on this matters more than it did a year ago. These routes close faster than the paid ones, because a donation makes a government money and your paperwork makes them nothing. Peru had a 2-year route this time last year. Gone. Italy had the most generous descent law on earth for 160 years. Gone, as of March. Argentina's rules are sitting in front of their Supreme Court while I'm filming this. Every month you spend researching instead of filing, the clock gets longer, and if you ever actually need to leave in a hurry, not one of these can be rushed. The first country is the fastest naturalization on earth for anybody willing to genuinely go and live somewhere. And it's also the one most likely to change while you're in the middle of it. Argentina. 2 years of legal residency and you can apply for citizenship. That's the whole requirement. And it's been in law 346 since 1869. Which means if you get this wrong, you don't lose money. You lose 2 years of your life and start again from zero. Then Milei signed Decree 366/2025 in May of last year and redefined the word continuous. 0 exits. 1 weekend in Uruguay and your 2 years resets to nothing. He also took citizenship away from the federal judges and handed it to the migration department. And then the courts started tearing it up. A federal court in Buenos Aires in May, the same chamber again a week later, and the National Electoral Chamber on the 30th of June. The government has appealed to the Supreme Court. So where does that leave you today? 2 years, no capital, around 170 countries visa-free, and full Mercosur movement. But nobody can tell you which version of the rules you'll be judged under when you file. So be very careful and fix your strategy with an Argentine lawyer as of the day you file, not as of a YouTube video. If you can genuinely base yourself in Buenos Aires for 2 years, Argentina is still the best deal in the world. If you need to fly out every 6 weeks for your business, don't start. The second country is in the Caribbean, and nobody in this industry will ever pitch it to you because there's no commission in it, the Dominican Republic. And if you're the kind of person who's been comparing 5 islands at 130 grand each, this is the one that asks for income instead of capital. Law 1683 from 1948 says 2 years of permanent residency and you can apply to naturalize. 2 years of permanent residency. Not 2 years from the day you land. You get in through the pensionado or the rentista route on roughly $2,000 a month of documented passive income, no investment required, and the permanent residency card takes 3 to 6 months. So the honest number for the Dominican Republic is closer to 2.5 to 3 years, and there's a Spanish interview and an oath at the end of it. The passport is weak. About 71 countries, no Schengen, no United States. So this is a base and a bolt hole, and it's a bad travel document. If you want a place in the Caribbean you can actually live in, on income rather than a donation, the Dominican Republic is genuinely underrated. If you're buying a passport for the visa-free list, this isn't it. The third country has the shortest timeline on this entire list, 1 year. And there's a condition attached to it that you cannot buy with any amount of money, Brazil. Get this one wrong and you'll spend 4 years on something you could have done in 1, really quick. If you're looking to lower your taxes, increase your freedom, and get the best possible residency and citizenship options for your specific situation, click the link in the description and book a call with us. We're happy to help you. So, standard naturalization in Brazil is 4 years of legal residency. It drops to 1 year if you have a Brazilian spouse or a child born in Brazil. And Brazil is absolute on birthright. So any child born on Brazilian soil is Brazilian at birth, no matter what your immigration status is. 1 year of residency, a Portuguese language requirement, and the application goes through the federal police and the Ministry of Justice, which is another 12 to 15 months of processing on top. So the real number is about 2.5 years, and it gets you one of the strongest passports in Latin America at around 168 countries. Now, I'm not telling anybody to have a child for a passport, and if that's your plan, you've got bigger problems than your tax bill. But if you're already planning a family and you're already looking at South America, the arithmetic on this is worth knowing before you choose a country. The fourth country is the cheapest legal route to a Mercosur passport on this list, and it's the one that gets sold to people the most dishonestly, Paraguay. And if you buy the version you've been sold, you'll find out 3 years in that your clock never actually started. Article 148 of the Constitution says 3 years. What nobody tells you is that the Supreme Court counts those 3 years from permanent residency, not from arrival, so your temporary years count for nothing. Then there's a Spanish or Guarani exam, a 30-question test on Paraguayan history and civics that you need 70% to pass, and the file goes to the Supreme Court sitting in full, which is another 12 to 24 months of queue. So the advertised 3 years is really 5 to 6. On the investor track, it's about 3.5 to 4. And in 2026, they're enforcing Arraigo properly, meaning genuine ties. The court pulls your immigration records, and if you've been flying in once every 3 years to keep a card alive, you get refused. There's also Article 149, which only recognizes dual citizenship with Spain and Italy, so on paper you're renouncing. In practice, they don't enforce it. Be very careful with that one and get it in writing from your lawyer. So if you want the cheapest passport in South America and you're prepared to actually live in Asuncion, Paraguay works. If you were sold 3 years and a residency card, you were sold BS. The 5th country was on my last list, and I'm putting it on this one so you understand exactly what's happening to every option in this video, Peru. Because this is how you lose the other 6. 12 months ago, Peru was 2 years. Work visa, rentista, married to a Peruvian, 2 years and you could apply. Then Law 32421 took it to 5. It added an income floor of 10 tax units, which is 55,000 sols, about $15,000 a year, and it has to be declared to SUNAT, so a retiree living off foreign income may not qualify at all now. And processing went to 18 months with a 6-month extension on top of that, so Peru is off the list. Don't start a Peru file in 2026, and if somebody is still selling you Peru in 2 years, walk away. And understand why it happened so fast. A paid program has a government department earning fees from it and lawyers defending it. A 2-year residency route earns nobody anything, so when a parliament decides to look tough on immigration, that's the first thing on the table. The 6th is the most valuable passport a human being can get for free anywhere in the world. And if you'd watched this video 2 years ago, I'd have told you that you probably qualify, Italy. And a lot of you watching this did qualify, right up until March. For 160 years, Italy had no generational limit at all. Unbroken line back to an ancestor alive after 1861 and you had a claim. Then in March 2025, they issued Decree 36, which became Law 74. And the new Article 3 biz says that if you were born abroad and you hold another citizenship, you are deemed never to have acquired Italian citizenship. Parent or grandparent born in Italy. 2 generations. And that's the end of it. Everybody waited for the Constitutional Court to kill it. On the 12th of March 2026, the court upheld it. And in January of this year, Parliament went further and put annual caps on how many dissent applications they'll even accept, with everything moving to one central office in Rome by 2029. If you filed before the 27th of March 2025, you're grandfathered under the old rules and you're fine. But here's the part almost nobody covers. If you've got an Italian parent or grandparent and the reform knocked you out of the bloodline route, that same law lets you naturalize after 2 years of residence in Italy instead of the standard 10. 2 years living in Italy for an EU passport, no investment. So if you have Italian ancestry and you've been assuming the door shut in March, check that specific clause before you give up on it. The last one isn't a country. It's the fastest citizenship available to anybody watching this. It costs a few $100s, and a good number of you already qualify and don't know it. And if you're sitting on one of these while pricing a $250,000 donation, that's the most expensive paperwork you'll never file. Ireland. If one of your grandparents was born on the island of Ireland, north or south, you go on the foreign births register. It's about €278 and 9 to 12 months. That's an EU passport, no residency, no language test, no money. And if one of your parents was born in Ireland, you are already an Irish citizen right now, and all you need to do is apply for the passport. Germany, Article 116, Paragraph 2 of the Basic Law. If an ancestor of yours was stripped of German citizenship between 1933 and 1945 on political, racial, or religious grounds, you and your descendants have a constitutional right to have it restored. No generational limit at all, so a great-great-grandchild has the same standing as a grandchild. No language requirement, no residency, no renouncing anything. Lithuania goes back to a great-grandparent from the interwar period with no language requirement. Romania reaches a great-grandparent with a light language test. The thing that kills these applications is boring, and it's names. A grandfather who was Giuseppe in Naples and Joe in Toronto. A date of birth that's a year out between the Irish register and the American death certificate. And your file gets returned and you start again. So go and pull the birth certificates this week before you spend another euro on anything. Now, every single route in this video costs you the same thing, and that's that you have to actually go and live somewhere. And for most of you watching, the place you've already picked is Dubai. So I made a video on 6 reasons you shouldn't move to Dubai, and they're not the ones you've heard on every other channel. 6 things nobody tells you until you've already signed a year's rent and moved your family over. Check it out right here.